Okay, we're back, and you wanted to talk about arbitration some more.
Yeah, because it's pretty
Kind of new. Most people aren't familiar with it.
Exactly, it's a crucial part to support the whole governments. So we try to understand how things are going on.
Right. Okay, so this is again best of my current knowledge, and we're still in the process of building out a couple of pieces. But here's how it might work for you if you had a dispute. So you're a token holder, and you've engaged in a contract. Let's say, I give you one of my favorite examples. So you've got your World of Warcraft fan, because who's not a World of Warcraft fan, right? We're all, it's awesome. And you hire Fred to go get you this special sword.
Mm-hmm.
You can't buy it off of an exchange somewhere. It's very hard to get.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has to kill the dragon. When you kill the dragon, it drops the Excalibur. It's a special sword, right? And you're not tough enough to kill the dragon yourself. Fred is.
Yeah.
And so you write a contract, you put your money in, and the deal is he's going to kill the dragon and he's going to bring you back the sword, right? And so you fund it, and he comes back, and Fred comes back, and he gives you the wrong sword.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Excalibur. It's like some little other sword. It's not as cool. And he's like, okay, here, I've fulfilled my contract. You're like, no, you didn't. And Fred says, no, let me explain. Here, I video recorded the entire thing, and he shows you. And he's got a video recording of him and his whole team, and they spent 20, 30 minutes fighting, and they're dying, and they're using potions in this massive battle, and they kill the dragon. The dragon drops the wrong sword. It's not the sword you expected. The system did not give the sword.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, did Fred fulfill the contract?
Yeah, it's very complex, situation even in the real world.
I mean, he put the time in. He had his friends come. He used up all these potions, and it's like he did the work. He did kill the dragon. It's right there on video.
Right.
Now, what you don't know is whether he killed the dragon and it did drop the correct sword. He edited the video to make it look like it was a different sword. He sold the sword to somebody else. And he's trying to rip you off.
Yep.
Or it really just didn't drop the right sword that you expected. And, is the system changed? Sometimes it drops Excalibur, sometimes it doesn't. Wow, that's a tough one. And the reason I picked this example is it perfectly illustrates the difference between an agreement for effort versus an agreement for outcome.
All right.
Which is classic in consulting and everywhere else, right? Is it time and materials, or is it outcome based? And if your contract isn't clear, it could get really messy.
Yeah.
And so you're unhappy, and so you call for arbitration. And Fred has his reputation to think about. He wants an arbitrator too. He wants it cleared up. And so how do you physically do this? Well, now we're going to get into some details. As a developer, you want to look at some of the best practices. There's an outfit called, I'll have to think of their name. And they've got a software development kit originally designed for Ethereum, which we're hoping that they'll port to EOS, on how to include arbitration language and actions in your smart contracts, so that there'll be an action that you can invoke, either party can invoke, saying call arbitrator. And it freezes the transaction in place, and it raises a flag up to whoever your arbitration form is, and informs them that you need an arbitrator.
All right.
And so if your contract that you're working with has that action, you'd invoke the action. If your contract doesn't have that, you might have to manually find the system. File it through, maybe there's an email, maybe there's a web form somewhere. Whatever your system is, various ways will be available for you to invoke arbitration. You say, hey, here's my transaction, here's the contract, here's the specific transaction ID that's related here. I'm not happy, and the other person here is Fred. Here's Fred's account number or account name. So I've got my account, Fred's account, and a transaction that we're both involved in. That's all you need to take to an arbitrator.
And you need to pay the arbitration fee.
Well, you've got to do a filing fee, yes.
Yeah.
Because they don't work for free. Sometimes there are cases where arbitrators will volunteer their time. CA cert had volunteer arbitrators, but most of the time.
Well, it's also you need to add the cost element for the arbitration, not bring too many cases, especially irrelevant or too tiny cases.
If it's free, everyone will use it all the time.
Exactly.
So you've got to have some sort of filter. And cost of filing fee makes sense.
Yeah, and the cost in real world is pretty big.
Yeah, I bet. And remember, this is the real world, folks. So you'll have your filing fee, and if you paid, $1,000, $5,000 for this awesome sword, you'll easily put a couple $100 in for filing fee to get this sorted out. The other thing that's highly recommended is in your contract when you write it, include the language that says who pays for the filing fee, and the arbitrator will then rule who pays the arbitrator fee. There's a filing fee in the front, and there's an arbitrator fee at the end.
Exactly.
And those will both be assessed on you.
Yeah.
And then now you've filed, and then you get an email at this point. It's going to be arbitrator can say, okay, you've given notice to Fred. I see proof you've given notice to Fred. I will also email Fred. And so Fred has got 30 days to respond to this request for arbitration. And then up on the chain now, it shows there's an arbitration case open with his account number on it, or his account name on it. And you are responsible for keeping track of whether someone has named you a respondent in an arbitration case. You are actually responsible for that. You can't just say, "Oh, I never did. I didn't check my email," or "I deleted the emails." You can't just hunker down and pretend that you don't know.
So the account got a pseudo ID system?
We don't have an on-chain messaging system today, so you have to monitor the list of open arbitration cases and look for your.
So another question could be, in real world, the arbitration do keep confidentiality.
Yes.
But currently, the design mechanism makes it open to everyone.
The fact that there was an arbitration case is public, but the details may not be. And it's up to the arbitrator to work with you and say, this should be confidential, so I won't publish all of the details, but I might publish the outcome. I find in favor of, and you can even, again, it depends. It's got to be case by case. There will be cases where everything needs to be kept confidential to protect the parties involved. Okay, great. And in fact, there's nothing preventing two parties who may be in dispute, but they both agree that they really both want total confidentiality. You might keep the whole thing off the chain. You might. Okay, fine. That would be a little different, but you could. And then how we get I have to see how that plays out. That's an interesting thing.
It's good. It's early stage, so yeah. The good thing is we are going to have one, and
the future is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, 1 month period of time is tiny in real world. It takes 6 months at least, or even 12 to 18 months.
For arbitration cases?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, arbitration cases will take months, even on the blockchain.
Yeah, the court will take even longer than that in real world.
It's true.
Yeah, so would be very interesting to see, especially like what I said,
right.
If we have some countermeasure on the bad arbitrators, it should be working.
So let's get back to our case in hand, which has got you, Fred, and this sword in this whole dispute. So you raised the case you filed the dispute. The arbitrator got selected. You raised it to the forum picked an arbitrator. You and Fred both get notified. Fred doesn't hide because he wants this cleared up too. And so you both say, okay, this is arbitrator Barney. Do you see any conflicts with Barney? No. Does Fred see any conflicts? No. Okay, Barney is approved. Barney then says, great, state your case. Let me see the Ricardian contract. What other facts can you give me? Oh, you have a recording? Great, send me the recording of the fight and the sword and all that. And send me all information you think is relevant. And then you each get to see each other's information, and then you could say, well, hey, wait, that's actually not quite right. Let me add to that. So you can respond to each other. And eventually, all the information's been pooled together in one big. There's some directory somewhere full of files. This poor arbitrator just gets to like walk through all of it.
A whole hard drive of evidence.
It could be a lot. It could be a lot. And by the way, for a big case, an arbitrator will get paid a significant amount of money, and they're totally free to hire specialists to help them. And we're expecting case manager, basically a paperwork specialist, to assist the arbitrator. So arbitrators aren't out there all by themselves trying to sort through this.
The witness side mostly is provided by the plaintiff or the claimant. Witnesses.
Yeah, well, witnesses can be from either side.
Normally, arbitrator won't recruit by themselves.
Nope.
Normally. So either witness, either the claimer or the defendant.
Yeah.
So make the offering to recruit, expert to explain the whole thing to the arbitrator.
Right. And in addition to one or both sides bringing in experts, the arbitrator could choose to hire their own expert in addition.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Mm-hmm. And so you want to get as much information as possible, the best information possible. And the arbitrator, of course, wants not just to be fair, but to be seen being fair. So they're going to take their time and be really thorough.
All right.
Because they've got their reputation.
Yeah, especially for the early time, they need to understand it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we look at the Ricardian contract, and maybe it's not clear whether it was, do we agree to effort or do we agree to outcome? And so the arbitrator might write a long little essay on like, well, this is really important, and it would have been better if you phrased it this way, and other people phrase it really clearly this way, but here it's just not clear. It might find, all in all, it's sort of more the fault, who wrote this messy contract in the first place? Oh, wait, Fred offered the language of the contract. In this case, let's say. Well, there's one of the things, I don't know much about law. I'm not a lawyer. I've never gone to law school. But I've heard it said that whoever writes the contract, if it's vague, they lose because they're the one who wrote it. Same thing with insurance companies. They write these contracts. And if there's anything vague or uncertain in a contract, it goes against the drafter because they could have made it clear.
Right.
Right. The other person didn't have the power to make it clear.
But more on the who got the bargaining power. So
yeah, who's got the bargaining power?
Yeah,
right.
So buyer usually is less institutional. It's like small individuals.
Right.
So they got more favored on the court or in the law system. They are like weaker than the big business.
So we would imagine that if Fred, the bounty hunter, the guy who killed the dragon, wrote a vague contract.
And he has been doing this for...
And he's been doing it again and again.
For a living, maybe.
Yeah, he might be making a living doing it, killing dragons and handing out swords. So he might bear more responsibility in the eyes of the arbitrator.
Yeah.
So let's pretend that that's the case here. Then we would find, 80% liability for him. But at the same time, you see in the email, the vagueness was raised, but then you didn't like drive it to clarity. So you had a chance to get it clear and you didn't take it. So maybe you have some culpability too. So the arbitrator might give you a choice. You can take the lower value sword and pay a partial amount, or you can get a partial refund. You don't get all your money back. So the arbitrator says you get 80% refund. Fred keeps 20%, plus he keeps the sword because you didn't get it, because you did not pay for it. And you think, well, it's not a bad sword. Now you get into a private negotiation with Fred and you want to buy the sword, but that's outside of the arbitration case. And so we publish the case, and now how do you enforce it now that you've come to conclusion? So the arbitrator has written their finding, and they've written an order to carry out the justice. Now, if there's nothing broken in the system and the two parties both agree, you can just do the exchange yourselves, and the block producers don't have to get involved. But what if Fred is difficult? What if Fred's, I don't want to go along with this, all right? The arbitrator can write a proposed transaction that transfers money from him to you and hands it to the block producers, and they can encode that, get 15 signatures. It goes into a 30-day transaction queue, and it rolls forward. And at that point, if I'm Fred, I'm thinking, I should just take my lumps, I'll pay back the guy, and I'll keep my reputation. Because there's a difference between you lose an arbitration case and you pay with gracefully versus you lose and then you're difficult and they have to force you. Big difference there. So because that you can be forced, that's your incentive to cooperate.
Yeah, there could be another 100 of questions like, now, what if that guy empty his account out?
Right. So, one of the things that we expect folks to do is post performance bonds. That's one of the ways that you prove that you're trustworthy. Because if you're a merchant, if you have lots of customers, you might have a performance bond, which is an account with some tokens in it that can be pulled from by an arbitrator that you yourself can't empty. So it's available to satisfy judgments. A second thing might be that you're a member of a guild of bounty hunters.
Right.
And the guild says that we will make good any debts of any of our members. But we only let in good people and they have to pay dues. Right. So it's like a special trade association. A third thing might be insurance. You have an insurance policy that will help pay out if you lose a judgment. And then the insurance company is going to make you be a good actor. They'll inspect you and they'll tell you to write better contracts and they'll do things to control their risk. And so there's all these things. And if none of those is true, the arbitrator, knowing that you might pull your money out and run away, can order a freeze on your account so you can't pull your money out.
So the ultimate idea for this one is we are going to be more and more acting like in real world within EOS.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of the same mechanisms that are used to protect consumers in the real world will also be in the blockchain world. Performance bond, insurance, trade associations, universal commercial code, things like that.